2nd. All right, we're
Okay.
live. Week 9. I don't know if this is going to get out to y'all. Hopefully it does. It should. If not, you'll see it later on the YouTube. Who knows? Barrett's our guest this week. He was supposed to be filling in, but he's actually the guest now. So that's pretty crazy. James, of course, here. Chube is sick. I don't know really if he is, but he apparently is. Um, Juras is doing evaluations for his basketball league. So the boys are we're stretched thin today, but here we are. Um, let's go over today's games. Let's go to the FCS game of the week, James, which is Missouri State at Northern Illinois. Who you got?
Last year, Missouri State won 35-16. I had it down as it was at Missouri State. It was their homecoming. I could be wrong. That could have been last year. UNI's defense is allowing 31 points per game. Missouri State has been scoring 34.6 points per game over their last 5 games. Missouri State's number 16 in FCS, so I'll take them.
I don't really know much about either of these teams. I know Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame this year, so I'll go with Northern Illinois.
I think it's supposed to be the University of Northern Iowa, but it's all right. But yeah, I'll go with. Do you want to change?
Yeah, I'll go Missouri State then. If James says it's their
Yeah.
homecoming game.
I'll go Missouri State as well. We'll jump to the other matchups. There we go. We're all going Missouri State. We'll go with that. Let's go to Kansas rivalry game in the Big 12. Kansas at Kansas State. James.
Yeah, Kansas has sucked this year. I think they're 1-6. Jaden, is it Jalen or Jaden? I get him confused with the other LSU quarterback that's now on the Commanders. He hasn't proven what we thought he would be as a elite dual threat quarterback. Avery Johnson has been a great quarterback this year, and they also have DJ Giddens, has over 1,000 yards rushing. They'll kill Kansas's poverty program this week.
Yeah, I agree. Kansas State, they're looking pretty good this year. Avery Johnson's a really good quarterback, and their run game's also pretty well rounded as well. They got 2 really good running backs. So I'll go with Kansas State.
Yeah, I think Avery Johnson's going to have a big game today, and it's at Kansas State too. Go Wildcats. Let's go. Oh, all right. We're going to North Carolina, where you 22 SMU is taking on Duke. James.
I don't think Duke is that good. I mean, their record is 6-1, but they don't have that many quality wins, and the wins that they do have been very close. Malik Murphy was supposed to be all that, the Texas transfer, and he hasn't really panned out like the Duke Blue Devils thought he would be. I mean, he's still he's a big guy, but he hasn't been that great. SMU's favored by 11.5 on the road. They have a pretty good RB, Brashard Smith. He has 8 touchdowns on the year with 775 yards. I also really like their uniforms this week. They're going with the all-white. I think SMU should win by 2+ touchdowns.
Okay. I'll go SMU here as well. Like James said, Duke's all right. They're nothing special, and although it is at Duke, I don't feel like their home field advantage is that big of a difference because their stadium's pretty small. So I'll go with SMU as well.
Yeah, I really like SMU in this game. I feel like, honestly, they've kind of shocked everyone in the ACC, and I think that they're in title contention right now. So if you're a SMU fan, feeling pretty good. So go Mustangs. Is it Mustangs? I don't know. Notre Dame at Navy. If Navy wins this, they remain undefeated. Notre Dame has to play both the military academies. It's also at Navy in the Meadowlands. James.
This is dangerous for Notre Dame. Every year they have one really bad loss. We already saw that with Northern Illinois, I think. Yeah, I mean, we've gotten confused with Northern Iowa, Indiana, all of them. Navy is red hot right now. Their quarterback, Blake Horvath, he's a true dual threat. He is averaging 103.5 yards per game on the ground, and he can also air it out. Notre Dame, I don't think they're that great. I just think they're fraudulent every year. They need to join a conference. They're just a weird team. And I think Navy, this is a pick for America. Going with Navy, it's the American way. It's not the Irish way like Notre Dame is. So stick with America. Go with Navy. Give me them in Maryland to win.
As much as I would love to see both Army and Navy be undefeated going into the Army-Navy game, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think one of them's going to slip up here in a couple weeks, and Navy could potentially do that today. Notre Dame, kind of a powerhouse traditionally, and I think they're going to be too much for the midshipmen.
I do agree with Barrett. I think one of them is going to slip up, but I like Navy in this game. I also like Army when they're going to play Notre Dame, and I like Army a lot more. So I think Navy's going to slip up right here. I'm going to go with Notre Dame, plus I like Army a lot more. So go Irish. Sorry, America. Illinois at Oregon. Illinois is kind of shocked everyone, shocked the world, beat Michigan last week, sorry. Oregon, number 1 in the country now. James, who you got?
I just want to say it was classless what Illinois did last week. They were the number 22 team overall. Michigan was 24, and they rushed the field. Like, show a little pride for your school. That's terrible. Oregon is number 1 team in the country. They're coming off a big win against Ohio State. That was last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
that's
no. 2 weeks ago.
They still have momentum, even if that's 2 weeks ago. I think they're still riding high off of that moment. And it could be another statement win for the Ducks. Obviously, Illinois is a ranked team and continue to solidify their position at the top, as well as help their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, in the Heisman polls. While they don't have the biggest stadium when it comes to Big Ten or SEC football, they do have probably one of the prettiest, them and BYU. I think the Ducks will be out today, and I think they'll have a good home field advantage for the fans that can be there. And I think Dylan Gabriel will put the fight in Illinois away.
Yeah, obviously both teams are pretty hot right now. Illinois has kind of been a sleeper surprise team this year. Oregon kind of doing what people expected them to do. Dylan Gabriel's playing really well. They've got some really good receivers on the outside, a good running back. I like the Fighting Ducks in this one as well. I think Autzen Stadium will be really loud today, and yeah, I think the Ducks will get a big win over the Illini.
I think Illinois will make some noise in this game, make it close, but Oregon pulls out the win at the end of the day. They remain number 1, and they start looking towards the playoff in the Big Ten championship. So, good for them. Nebraska at Ohio State, another Big Ten game. A lot of good Big Ten games this week of just brands. Nebraska did get embarrassed last week at Indiana. James, who you got?
I think that's kind of telling that Nebraska can't hang with the big dogs. They can beat teams like Colorado, which that's not a shot at Colorado. I still think that they're, a good team, but they're not, at the top. They're not the cream of the crop. So the Ohio State will have excellent home field advantage. The Horseshoe will be packed. This is a decent win for Ohio State. Definitely doesn't hurt their resume. I don't think Dylan Raiola is prepared for this away game, honestly. He's only a freshman. And I think wide receivers Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, I think they will feast today. And I also think Quinshon Judkins will get a touchdown today, as Ohio State will probably decimate Nebraska. And I think Will Howard will get benched in the 4th just because they're beating them so bad.
Wow.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all James said. I think this would be a really cool opportunity for Raiola to kind of have a coming out week. I definitely not expect him to win, but if he can make some noise with some good stats, some good passes, I think that would be really good momentum for Nebraska fans just to feel good about the future of their program. But like James said, this is not going to be close. Ohio State is just too talented.
Yeah, I think that if Nebraska had a bit of a better defense heading into this game, I feel like we would look at this game a bit differently, but the defense is not that good. You're also averaging only 4 yards per carry in the Big Ten. That's last. And their head coach said that they're only averaging 4 yards, which is pretty good. Or it might be their offensive coordinator. Yeah, 4 yards is good, but what if you get stopped on one of those downs? Then you're 4 yards short from the line. So I'm gonna go Ohio State. I really like Will Howard. I feel like he's going to do really well in this game, and I think the defense is going to show up. A lot of people haven't credited this Ohio State defense. I think the defense will show up. Another Big Ten matchup. We're gonna have a lot of Big Ten because that's all that's on this week. It feels like Washington at Indiana. College game days there. James, how you feeling about this one?
Well, first off, I don't think College Game Day should have been there. I think it should have gone to either SMU at Duke or Texas Vandy. I think this is the one week that Vandy could have hosted it. That would have been super cool. Uh, Nashville, would have been a great scene. They could have done it on Broadway. Uh, what's his name? Kicker for the Colts would have loved that. Pat McAfee. He fits all that Broadway is. He would have had a great time there. But they're here. I think Washington is a terribly overrated team. They got blown out they got blown out to 40-6 to Iowa, who lost to Michigan State earlier this year, and have also lost to Rutgers and Washington State. They've only beaten Northwestern, who sucks, Weber State, an FCS team, Eastern Michigan, and Michigan. So really only one quality win. And Indiana is the hot team coming off of a huge 56-7 win over Nebraska. I'll ride with them because I like their coach, Coach Sig, and they've been a very high-scoring team. So let's go Hoosiers.
Yeah, Indiana's been yet again another surprise team, kind of like Illinois this year. So I think it's really exciting what's happening for them. I feel like game day probably should have gone there. Bloomington, Indiana can get really rowdy when they are good at sports. I think we've seen that with basketball. So I'm expecting a big atmosphere down there today. And the Hoosiers are going to get a win today, but they're going to get a loss tomorrow against the Vols in basketball. So
True. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. I think that Washington. No, screw it. I'm going Indiana. I was going to defer my pick, but I'm going Indiana. I like Indiana in this game. Really, I think that what Coach Sig is building there. A lot of people said that he will probably take another good job. If the Florida job opens, I probably think that he will take that job. And as a Tennessee fan, I pray that he does not. He seems to really know how to build a program, and he's doing something great there at Indiana, kind of restoring their football program there. So, College Game Day also pretty cool seeing Lee Corso there after he was coached there too. So, go Hoosiers.
My only problem with game day there is that they could have waited 2 weeks and had Michigan at Indiana and could have done it to Vandy.
Yeah, but that's going to be a big
Fair.
noon kickoff game probably, though. To be real.
Oh, that's stupid. That's ruining football.
Yeah,
Get rid of big
screw
noon
the
kickoff.
screw the Big Ten noon kickoff. Screw that. Missouri at Alabama. Alabama coming off the loss at Tennessee. Missouri trying to find itself really. James.
Jalen Milroe has looked shaky the past couple weeks. Multiple turnovers. Hasn't been the QB that we thought he was going to be, the Heisman front runner. It's what we were told coming into the season, him and Dylan Gabriel. And right now it's just Dylan Gabriel. But also Brady Cook kind of sucks, and I don't think Eli Drinkwitz is that good. They played it close. They barely beat Auburn, who's at the bottom of the SEC, and Vanderbilt at home, and they also got blown out by A&M at A&M. It's really a do-or-die game for both teams. Both teams desperately need this win if they want to stay in college football playoff contention. And I also think it's interesting, Ryan Williams, just kind of his off-field things. I've seen a lot of people refer to him as the wide receiver Caleb Williams with some of the off-field antics that he's doing. I really don't see how Bama can lose another one, especially at home. So I'll go with them, coming off of the loss to Tennessee last week. I know that was a big game for all of y'all. I know y'all had a lot of fun. But I really think Missouri is probably the most fraudulent team in the SEC, so I'll stick with Bama.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what James said there. I don't think Eli Dorkwitz is really that good of a coach. I think he's very corny, kind of does some interesting tactics to get his team riled up, and I think he'll try that again this week. and it's not going to work. I think Milroe will kind of have some sort of a bounce back game. Like James has said, he's looked really, really bad the past couple of weeks. Just looks like kind of how he did when he first came in when Bryce Young got hurt a couple years ago. So I'll look for him to maybe get some of his run game going again this week. I think that's kind of the staple of his football game. When he's running the ball good, he's playing good. So hopefully they can get him involved early, kind of get him in the groove, and then hopefully he can make some big connections to Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard down the field. So I expect Bama to get a bounce back win this week and maybe restore some of their confidence in their new head coach, Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, being at that game last week, I kind of expected Alabama's offense to – Tennessee's defense very good, probably one of the best in the SEC. But I expected their offense to be a lot better than what it was. He only really threw it to Ryan Williams. Like, it looks like that's who he was targeting 24/7. And I think in this game that will hurt you. Now, it is at home. It's in Bryant-Denny Stadium at Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I like Bama in this game just because Brady Cook also went to the hospital last week and then came back. You don't usually do that in college football, especially – I mean, he won the game for him, but it's a little bit concerning there because you want to go to the hospital and then come back if something wasn't wrong that they would take you to the hospital. All that being said, I think Missouri makes it interesting towards the end. I think this will be like the South Carolina game. Bama gets the win. Playoffs probably out of reach for Bama, though, because that Vandy loss is, I think, the killer there. The Tennessee loss, I think, doesn't necessarily hurt them besides that it's a loss. That Vandy loss, I think, just destroys their playoff chances, honestly. So, go Roll Tide. Michigan State at Michigan, another rivalry game. Is this one for a trophy, James? Do you know?
Is this
It probably
Paul
is.
Bunyan? I think this is Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan. Every
There's a
Big
little
Ten
map.
every Big Ten game has a trophy, apparently. But James,
First off, did you say Roll Tide before you moved on to this game?
yes, I did.
Interesting. Let's be honest, both teams suck this year. I mean, Michigan State has been sucking for a while, but Michigan had higher hopes going into the season. Michigan State has a decent pass defense, but we know Michigan cannot pass the ball. And Michigan State has a terrible run defense, which should give Michigan a slight edge in this game, along with the fact that they're at home. I think the Big House won't be at full capacity. I think it will be packed because it's, a rivalry game. Cale Mullins and Donovan Edwards should have a decent game. I think Mullins has solidified his role as the RB1 in this offense. Donovan Edwards has not been the cover athlete we thought he would be. He's kind of reverted to like 2021 version of himself where he just wasn't great. I'm curious to see how well and which Michigan quarterbacks play today. I think Jake Tuttle is the starter, but I'm curious if Alex Orji or the other kid will get in just because they've been swapping them out like it's a MLB bullpen. Barrett?
Yeah, I think Michigan being in the Big House is going to play a big factor in this. Michigan State looked pretty decent at the beginning of the year and kind of fallen off as the season's progressed. Obviously, the big question for Michigan is the quarterback and the passing game. But at the end of the day, this is Big Ten football, and so they like to run the ball. And I think Michigan will have a big day on the ground and hopefully get a win for the fans down in Ann Arbor. But I think it'll be a close game. It's going to be obviously low scoring. But that's kind of what you're expecting when you watch the Big Ten, I guess.
It's a rivalry game. Rivalry games are always interesting. Michigan State could make some noise here. I don't expect them to. First-year head coach from what's his name from Oregon State. I can't remember his name.
Mel Tucker.
No, no.
No, Mel Tucker got fired for off-field issues.
Oh, yeah, that's –
yeah.
I didn't say that.
Anyway, we're gonna go with Michigan here. I think they win a slog fest. It'll be like a 10-7 game. That's my prediction for this game. 10-7. So last second field goal. Just Big Ten football out there. What is next? Texas at Vandy. Does Vandy
Uh,
do it today, James?
I really want to say that Vandy does it, obviously being the underdog in every game they play, basically. But I'm going to have to go with Texas. I think Quinn Ewers has to have a big game today. He played miserably last week, just kind of god-awful with multiple turnovers before the half, hardly had any passing yards. They eventually put Arch in last week, I believe. I mean, it was horrendous. I mean, Mississippi State played better against Georgia than Texas did. I mean, so losing by 15 at home, you have to go in here with kind of a chip on your shoulder. I think Diego Pavia will do well. We saw Michael Van Buren play well against Texas, and Pavia has a similar style of play. He's a very mobile quarterback, but he also can throw the ball. So if they want any chance of winning, they're going to have Texas blitz to try and stop the run and then get some of those, easy passes down the field. They're going to have to control the clock as well, but I just don't see it happening. Texas just needs this win too much. But Vandy is 8-3-1 all time against Texas, and their last game was played in 1928. So we'll see if they can keep their one-game win streak alive.
Okay, yeah, both teams are really coming off kind of disappointing weeks. Obviously, Texas kind of got whooped by Georgia in DKR, and then Vandy had a close game with Ball State, who's one of the worst teams in FBS. So both teams are kind of looking to bounce back, so to say, this week. I think Vandy will make it interesting at the beginning. I think Diego Pavia will have some nice, read options, RPOs, stuff like that, stuff he always does. But Texas is just the better team, flat out simple, and they're going to show that today. They're bigger, faster, stronger. I expect them to beat Vandy by at least 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I think this game will be close, very close. I've picked against Texas the past 3 weeks that they've been on here, and I'm 1-2 for doing that. So I'm going to pick Texas in hopes that they lose. But if they win, I get the record bone. So, listen, I think that Vandy will make this game interesting. I really hope they win because then the SEC will just be an all-time madness. But Texas, I think, is just the better team. Isaiah Bond, though, is out. Isaiah Bond is out today for Texas. He was doubtful, and I think he got downgraded to out. So that's a big loss for Texas. Plus, you come off the loss last week, a big physical game. Vandy's not going to be very physical with you. They're going to try to outsmart you, and I think that they can. You just can't let Vandy get behind you, really. So I'm going to go Texas here in hopes that Vandy wins, but Texas is my pick. Let's go to the game of the week, though, which I believe is last. Yes. Game of the week, LSU at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, number 1 in the SEC currently right now in the stadiums, I do believe. LSU right there behind them. A lot could change today depending on how this game goes. James.
Yeah, I think this game can help determine who is at the top of the SEC and who goes back to the middle of the pack. Both teams, 1 loss, I believe, or does LSU have 2? They've won to USC.
LSU has 2.
Then
they lost.
Who's their second?
No.
They're 1. They're 1. They have 1 loss to USC, and A&M has 1 loss to Notre Dame. So both are undefeated in SEC play. They're playing at A&M. I think they have an elite home field advantage just with all their cult members and the cheerleader men, yell leaders. I think
they call those guys yell leaders down
but
there.
I think they're weird. But I think LSU, I think they're used to that. They play at Tiger Stadium, which I would say is the louder of the 2 stadiums. They play with crazier fans week in and week out. And I think it will come down to the quarterbacks. And I believe Garrett Nussmeier has been the better quarterback throughout the season compared to Connor Wegman. And I think he's also been more dependent. They have Kyron Lacey, who has been clutch when they needed him to be, especially in that Ole Miss game with the overtime touchdown. Yeah, he does all the gun celebrations and stuff. Got a penalty in the very first game against USC for pointing a sniper rifle at another player and motioning that he shot him. It's pretty funny. But also be on the lookout for Whit Weeks, the linebacker for LSU. He has kind of been a breakout star for them this season. And I think the X factor for this Chiefs want to win.
I don't know who James picked right there. Hopefully
right.
he'll come back in. But
I'm thinking he picked LSU.
I'm thinking he also picked LSU, but we're not sure. So, James? Oh, yeah. Did you pick LSU?
LSU.
All right.
Yes.
Barrett.
All right. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good game tonight. I'm excited to watch this. I think I'm going over to fellow Splat member Drew Carver's house to watch this game tonight. It's a battle of the uniforms. Uniforms are looking great tonight. A&M debuting some all-black uniforms with Aggie script on the side. Really like that move.
Yeah.
LSU's countering with the all-white. So, if you're a uniform guy, I think you'll like this matchup. Obviously, LSU, did they have a game last week, Hunter?
Yes.
Who did they play?
Played Ole Miss, I believe, right?
Was that last week?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was about to say. But anyways, they're still riding the momentum. They're still riding the momentum of that huge overtime win. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier, he's a very good quarterback. I think he's played very well this year. His arm talent is pretty incredible. And I feel like A&M's quarterback's been a little bit of a question this year. I know Connor Weigman has been okay. I personally kind of like Marcel Reed a lot. I think he gives them a nice running game fellow. I think he's a good player. So I think LSU will win in a close game tonight. Obviously, Kyle Field's going to be rocking, but I think it's going to come down to kind of a similar last fourth quarter drive. And I think, Nussmeier finds Kyron Lacey, back corner of the end zone, and he airs the place out. So
there you go. So here's the SEC standings. A&M's 4-0 in the conference. LSU's 3-0 in the conference. Then Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, and Vanderbilt all have one loss in the conference. That's 5 teams all just chilling with one loss. I think that if Texas A&M wins here, LSU will move to 3-1. They will play Alabama later in the season, so then LSU could potentially, who knows, do well. I think A&M still has
Texas.
I think they still have Texas, right? Texas, which will be the big game there for them. I also think they have Bama still. I believe they still have Bama. So Texas A&M has definitely got a tough road ahead of them if they want to make the SEC championship. I'm going to go Texas A&M here. It is a blackout, I believe, at Kyle Field too, which could be insane. Night game as well. So I think that LSU just going into a rough crowd. LSU's also been at home for the past couple weeks, I feel like. Go Giga Maggies. I think that A&M wins this. LSU loses, then A&M drops the ball in a couple weeks. Of course, either Texas or Vandy is going to drop to 2-2 in the conference. Missouri could drop to 2-2 in the conference. So really, it's a shoots and ladders match of who's going to make the SEC championship at the end of the day. I think that the big deciding game is going to be Tennessee, Georgia here in a couple weeks. Mississippi State is at the very bottom with 0-4, tied with Auburn. So
Played close against
y'all are
Georgia
1-6.
and Texas. We're beating Arkansas today.
I hope you do. But that is my pick. Giga Maggies. There you go. Jesus loves you. That's week 9. James, enjoy the game. See you there. Bye.